How many true bilinguals are there in the whole of the USA? English and French, English to French bilinguals. How many in the whole of the USA? And as you can tell, I'm very excited by this video. And this is going to be a life-changing video for you. You must watch this if you are a current learner of French or of English or of both. I'm going to include you in a world you never suspected existed. And it's sort of true, in fact. But to help you think of this, to help you think of the answer, we won't be thinking of this question in terms of English or French, because I don't want you to be influenced by your perception of English or French. I'd like you to approach this in terms of colours. So we'll be speaking about blue language and red language. So we'll go through some variables here and we'll describe the perfect fluent speaker of blue and red. So from the day they were born, they heard blue language and red language. One parent spoke to them in blue and the other in red. For extra points, they just happened to grow up in green language. And also they had to learn green language in school, so now to them, well, bilingualism is just a fact of life. They literally have been trained in blue and red and they live in green, so plurality is their normal, because now they live in green culture. This bilingual kid watched morning cartoons in blue and in red. They played Snakes and Ladders in blue and red. They went to Cub Scouts in blue and red. They played football, wrote letters to Santa Claus in blue and red. They went to summer camp. They heard pop music in blue and red. They were exposed to the humour of blue and red. They understood the culture of blue and red. They could say, well, in blue language we rather eat this, and in red language we behave this way as a family, but they don't even have to think about it, they just did it. More extraordinary still is that the members of each group, blue and red respectively, considered this kid one of their own. They could hang out in blue and none of them would ever say, well, you sound a bit red, don't you? And they could hang out in red and none of them ever said, well, you sound a bit blue, don't you? So the assimilation was perfect before they were 10 years old. And they read the children's stories in blue and red, and they sang the carols, and they rode their bikes in blue and red. They made friends in blue and red, and they made enemies in blue and red, and they went on dates in two colours. By the time they were 18, they were pretty much a double person. But the story doesn't end there. When they went to university, they studied blue and they also studied red. They could explain the history and the culture of blue and red, the historical battles, the big events throughout history, the best writers, and so forth in blue and in red. Later, they became teachers of blue and red. They could actually teach blue and red. They could go to Blue Land and teach blue to the blue kids or red to the blue kids, and they could go to Red Land and do the same. They could teach either red or blue to the red kids in Red Land. How extraordinary. So again, think about it. How many people do you think in the whole of the USA can do this? Let's put our colours aside here and really talk about French and English. Practically, I'm talking about the ability to know the role of melted marshmallows on a bonfire in America. And if you're American, you know what I'm talking about. But you would just be as comfortable explaining the smell of coffee in Paris. Marshmallows over here, Paris and coffee over there. It's the ability to explain the pressure of SAT tests in America, but also the ability to explain why SAT tests aren't a thing in France. It's the ability to stand in front of a lecture hall, in a high school or at a university with a grammar book opened in front of you at a random page and be able to glance at that page and jump into the lesson. As a teacher with no prior preparation, just see the title, know what it's about, okay, we're going to talk about blue, we're going to talk about red, and just jump into the lesson. Whether it's English or French really makes no difference to you. You'd be able to glance at the page, say, okay, it's a lesson on English, it's about this and that, okay, no preparation, I see what it's about, okay, let's go. It's the ability to explain the excitement of Guy Fawkes in the UK versus Carnival in Francophone Belgium. It's the ability to explain little countryside lanes in the UK and how having a pet in France is much different from having a pet in America. It's being able to open a book at random in any of the two languages, French or English, and immediately comment on the style of the language. It's the ability to build a person up to becoming a good speaker of either French or English and having a method ready to make this possible for them to teach those languages. This fantastic bilingual would be able to invent, for example, advertising slogans in any of the two languages because they know the culture and how it sounds as a native. They'd have no personal preference doing a high-pressure job that involves cold calling. English or French makes no difference to me. They'd have literally no preference doing a PhD in French or in English, writing papers, doing research. No difference at all. They'd know how to deal with a high-pressure situation such as getting ripped off, or dealing with someone making an off-coloured remark about your partner in a bar. They'd be able to say for each decade, for each year almost, for English and French, oh yeah, that's a saying we used to say in French or in English. Yeah, we used it for about 5 years, but it's fallen out of use. They'd be on the same level as natives of either English or French, and be able to teach those two languages and be able to contrast them. Again, how many people in the whole of the USA do you think can do this? Well, I resorted to good old-fashioned artificial intelligence to answer this question, and I asked Gemini and ChatGPT, and do you know what they say? They reckon between 3 and 8. 8 being a very, very, very optimistic guess. So why is this video important to you? Because if you're learning a language, perhaps this puts into perspective what you could be having versus what you are having. My name's Chris from We Communicate. Ooh.